Observe.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 20 of the Observe and Rapport Show. I'm Kyle Brennan, joined as ever by my beautiful co-host, Keith Sullivan. Keith, how we doing today?
Couldn't be better, pal. Couldn't be better. How are you? What is that? Is that an ice cream cone on your hat?
An ice cream cone?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is...
I just realized that.
Yeah, it's the Boston Frosty. This is,
yeah, dude, how cool is that? I know. I forget about that.
My sister-in-law's father owns an ice cream truck. Shout out to the Boston Frosty. I don't know the names of the streets in Boston, but it's right by that famous park.
Right.
From
From
Good Will Hunting. You know that park where they're sitting at the
Dude,
scene?
what a scene.
But anyway, yeah, he owns an ice cream truck there, and this is the original Frosty, the Boston Frosty hat. Thought it was pretty cool.
That is cool. That is cool. You don't really, it's a very like it catches your eye, Bert Kreischer kind of hat. Like, what is he? What is that? You know, you know, that is a cool hat. Yeah. I'd love to support because like Mr. Softy is making the rounds now. Yeah. Have you heard him?
No.
I've heard him a few times.
I did just have Carvel soft serve like right before the show.
I walk in, this guy's like, "Oh, I'm healthy. I'm healthy." He's eating fucking ice like that. Like a bowl of ice cream. I'm a Carvel.
I'm a glutton for dessert. That's the one thing I will never be able. I can be the most disciplined person in the world when it comes to dessert. Like,
I'm more like, give me a chicken parm hero. Just give me like a big, meaty, cheesy, hot sandwich. Forget it, bro. Yeah. I don't give a fuck what's going on.
See, that for me, like, I will do that, but my heartburn after that makes it almost, it's not even worth it for me.
You know, this goes back to the literal first episode. We talked about that heartburn's a silver lining. That
was the first episode.
How fat we would be, dude.
You on the Montauk Highway.
Well, we should. It's the 20th ep.
That's right.
We should reminisce a little bit.
We made the benchmark of we're in the top 1% of podcasters now.
We're right behind Rogan. Yeah, it's Call Her Daddy, Rogan Us.
Yeah,
there's what's the difference?
Can you believe so they've done Rogan's in like 1,300 or something episodes?
No, I think it's over 12,000. I'm sorry, 2,000.
Yeah, right. So 2,500 episodes or something. We've done 20. Feels like a lot.
God, man.
What have you learned, not necessarily from like a technical standpoint, like you do all the audio and video editing, but what have you learned from like, because I imagine when you tell people you have a podcast, like they're like, that's unique, like what do you guys talk about? But I think I wrote in my newsletter like 2 weeks ago, like 3 things that I learned from podcasting. Like, what do you think you've learned about like yourself or about the format over the last, year and a half?
This is gonna be in the episode. We just, for some reason, the camera just stopped working.
Yeah,
that's another thing I fucking learned.
Yeah,
you just asked me what have I learned, and now I noticed, it cut off right before I answered originally. I had a whole thing about whatever, and whatever, we'll get back into it. But like, listen, this is what I've learned. You never fucking know what's gonna happen with this shit. Okay, you never know.
We just spoke for like 15 minutes about the question I just asked, and then realized the camera wasn't rolling. So. We're back.
It's like so fucking annoying, man. It's so annoying. Like not having a producer, being the producer, and also doing the thing. I have no clue what's going on the other end of this. There could be nothing going on. And thank God you can see it. Because like I would never know. It's been a whole waste of time.
I just saw your home screen on the iPhone. And I'm like, that shouldn't be the case.
So what I was saying was, and it's great because I didn't have to ramble through it now in the episode, but I realized that I don't think to talk. I talk to think. So I have to ramble through bullshit. That's why I ramble. Like I'm just like going and going and going because I'm actually sorting out my shit in my head while I do that. I can't think without talking. I have to let it out, so to speak. So this is a huge outlet for that. And we were talking about how every guy now, whether it's a wife or a girlfriend, they go at one point in an argument or a conversation, they say, this isn't a podcast or you're in podcast mode, like your wife says. Like we just have this need, men, to like just get what we're thinking out there to someone else. We have to do it.
Like you said, thinking to talk. No, talking to think.
That's what we do.
I had wrote in my newsletter, like a few lessons that I had learned from a year and a half of podcasting. I said, podcasting for me at least is a form of journaling, where I think you can get your ideas out, and journaling is where you kind of put pen to paper and start to synthesize your ideas. And sometimes sometimes when you're journaling, you'll write something and be like, oh wow, I never actually expressed that out loud
Right.
or said it. And I think the podcast is the same thing. When like you ask me a question that I wasn't prepared for, you didn't like tell me beforehand, and I maybe don't have an opinion on it, or I've never thought about it, and it gives me an opportunity to sort of talk through my thoughts about it.
Right.
And you always end up, like you said, like when we listen back, you think you sound like an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, I don't know what I was talking about. And then you listen back and you're like, oh, that was actually pretty articulate and like a new idea I'd never thought of.
And then you watch other people's podcasts who aren't like in the top whatever. Dude, we're actually really good at this, to be honest with you. Some people just, dude, and you're like, oh my
See the charts.
God. This fucking guy, like, just the and like the worst is when if you're talking, like
Oh yeah, that's the worst.
Because and it's like, what? Shut up.
Yeah.
Let the guy talk.
I think because me and you listen to so many podcasts, we also know like the don'ts.
Yeah, we know the don'ts.
Like,
we didn't go through like the phase where we didn't.
I have to stop myself sometimes from going like,
I do that too, just so it's easier to edit later.
Yeah.
I'm like, but yeah,
especially in today's day and age, we're consuming so much, whether it's sports or movies, TV shows, podcasts, books. Like you're consuming so much information that you're like, all right, like. This is all just rattling around my brain. It's in these empty folders in my brain, and like it needs to get out somehow. And like I can't just continue to prefabricate other people's opinions that I heard on a podcast. I need to actually formulate my own opinions. Right. And I think writing does that for me. I think podcasting and just talking to you does that for each other. Writing for me is like the most. I hate this word. It's like super spiritual, but like cathartic. Yeah, in a sense where. Sometimes I will open a Word document and I'll start to write like a blog about a specific topic. And by the end of it, it's about something completely different. You know what I mean? And like, that's where the good stuff comes out. Cause it's just like, oh, it wasn't meant to be that. I tried to make an intention, but instead something else was flowing through me and that just came out. And that's how our conversations usually go too.
Yeah, that's very true, man. And like, it's because we're family too. Like, you ever look at someone for too long and you're like, that's too long looking at them in the eye. I got to look away for a second. Yeah. I could stare at you all day. And I don't get like, oh, we're looking at a lot. It's just because your eyes have been around my whole life. So we're very like, oh God, it's getting like fucking, I was going to say you're like a hole that I could go. Oh, Jesus.
Oh, boy. It's getting a little too emotional. It's not that kind of podcast.
It's a comfortable pitch.
Yeah.
And a catch. And we're having a catch.
Yeah,
it's very good. I don't think it's comfortable.
I don't think there's ever been a moment in either us talking on a podcast or just talking in regular life where we're just like, so what else?
There's no dude, Theo Vaughn, top 5 in the world maybe. Literally 15 times during an episode, he'll go, so what else can we talk about? You see that, and like, it's like, dude, people suck at this. Like at least we actually talk and have something to say, like whatever. So let's get back to a book. Let's keep it going. The formula. You read Infidel by, I can't say her name.
Yeah. Infidel by Ayaan Hirsi Ali. Honestly, one of the best books I've read over the last year or two.
Sounds like an unreal story.
Yeah, I don't remember where I heard about it first, but she's married to, do you know Neil Ferguson? He's like a historian, English historian. They're married.
No shit.
So I think
wasn't she like a member of Parliament?
She was a member of the Dutch Parliament.
Dutch Parliament.
So that's all I knew about her. And I think I heard Neil Ferguson maybe on like Tim Ferriss's podcast or something, and he plugged his wife's book. He's like, oh yeah, go read Infidel by Ayaan Hirsi Ali. And I didn't think anything of it, but then Tim Ferriss was like stamp of approval. That's one of the best books I've ever read. Like, go out and check it out. So I bought the book. I found it at like a bookstore 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, 2014, right? Something
It's been sitting on that shelf behind you for the last.
Shitting on that shelf
for the last. That's why we had it. For the last 2 years, and had it on my list. And I was just like, I know it's going to be a dark book. About she grew up in Africa in
I hate reading about things happening to kids. That kills me.
And I knew it was going to be a dark one, so I'm like, all right, let me save this for a time when maybe I'm like kind of, and you're never ready for
spring.
Them,
you thought, hey, while everything's coming back to life.
I was feeling too good, so I needed to knock myself down.
Let's put a ceiling on it.
So anyway, this book is crazy. So she grew up She grew up in Somalia. That's where she was born.
By the way, can I just be honest? Where is that?
Somalia is on the west coast of, or east coast of Africa. Sorry.
Okay.
So it's I think
by Madagascar, then.
Kinda. Yeah, it's like south. I mean, Africa's massive. So saying it's near,
nothing's
saying
really
it's
near
near
anything.
something. I think it's south of Kenya. I don't have a map on me, but so she was born in Somalia, which is a predominantly Muslim country. And what I didn't know was how much Islamic law runs the country more than any government, which is interesting. So she grew up in Somalia, moved to Kenya, then Ethiopia, then Saudi Arabia, all within like ages 1 to 18. So she hopped around in each of these different countries and different cultures, different religious cultures. Okay. So Somalia, mainly Muslim, and the Muslim culture, as she depicts it, I don't want to paint a broad brush and say it's all these things, but generally speaking, you know, Islam has this very strange sort of taboo nature to it, where like we kind of know there are some bad aspects of it, right? You hear about things about, you know, rape and how they treat gay people and women and stuff, and the women wear the burqas, but then you also hear like, oh, it's a very peaceful culture, right? And that's all you always hear that.
And if you bring up the first things you mentioned, someone always has to chime in and go, no, that's just the radicalized people.
Right.
You know, it's actually a really beautiful and it's like, okay, but still, like, you know, hey,
so,
I'm just saying.
So this book, and again, it's through someone who lived through it.
Right. So this is an autobiography.
I have to weigh that very heavily, in my opinion, and it basically turned off any notion that this religion is peaceful to me, which was really eye-opening. So from a young age, without getting too into some of the details, but from a young age, every woman or girl is forced to get excised, which means
that means
down there, basically stapled shut. Yeah. The men get circumcised.
Is that I have questions. Is that more about preventing rape from happening and virginity?
It's virginity. So they want every woman to be pure when they're married to a husband. They're also arranged marriages. So the women basically have virtually zero rights. The way she explains it is that women are taught from a young age that they are, without using the word, they're essentially slaves to the men of the Muslim culture. So they are basically stapled shut. And this is in Somalia. I don't know if this is everywhere. So again, I don't want to broadly say anything, but they're stapled shut.
You're telling me that in the entire country of Somalia, this happens. This is like the standard Somalian.
To this day, I believe. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and it happens in other countries in the Middle East as well.
It's not just there.
And the women are basically subservient. They get no respect. They have to do all of the chores, the cooking, the cleaning. They're not really allowed outside. They're not allowed to be in the company of men. The men can basically do whatever they want. Their rule, kind of rules everything. The women are they have these crazy strict rules, right? You know the basics of praying 5 times a day. And religion, as we've talked about, it sets you kind of like a moral framework, which can be very positive. In some, what we think of as extremist is actually pretty common in the Muslim world. And a lot of the Quran talks about people who are not Muslim or who are not espousing Muslim ideas should basically be stoned to death or killed or mutilated or murdered in some way. So it is not a religion of peace in that sense.
Right.
And if women are not virgins...
And that blatantly says so in the Quran.
Yeah. And she quotes, direct quotes from the Quran about this. So anyway, she moves around. She goes to Kenya, which is a little bit more of an open society. Ethiopia as well. It's like half Christian, half Muslim. She starts to get exposed to Western books. So she starts reading novels like Nancy Drew and all these. She starts reading about romance and how women are treated equally. And she reads these because they're fiction. She reads these as fantasies. That doesn't actually exist in the real world. That's not a real thing. But then she starts noticing like women in Ethiopia who are Christian wear like short shorts or like short skirts. And she's like, well, why are they allowed to do that? Like I have to cover up everything. I'm not allowed to show any sexuality, because what they're taught is that if they show any portion of their skin, whether it's their neck or their hands, that the men will go so crazy that society cannot function, that the bus drivers will crash the bus, that, you know, society will crumble because the men can't focus because they're so sexualized. And the women just accept this.
Right.
They're like, oh, of course.
Well, they're like, I'm not going to let that happen.
You know, because she was a young girl, she's reading it through these eyes. She's like, okay, well, I can't do that. I must cover myself up. And
so they're taking advantage of it.
Yeah. And then she moves to Saudi Arabia, which is even more strict, where like you literally can't do anything without a man accompanying you. And her father left the family. So the mother is basically raising these kids, and she can't go out and buy the groceries because she doesn't have a man to take her there. And it's crazy strict there. But anyway, long story short, I'm going on forever, but she starts to slowly learn some of the, you know, democratic values of the West through books and through just like questioning things. She was always just like kind of questioning, and whenever you know, a Muslim teacher would tell her something, she'd be like, well, how come the women have to cover up but the men don't? Like, aren't women you know, just as easy to get, you know, aroused from a man's skin? And the class just like laughs at her. But she just has that personality where she's always questioning things, and gets to the point where she's 18 and her father, you know, tries to set her up for an arranged marriage with a man, and she's going to move to Canada with this man. And before she moves to Canada, they say, all right, we got to send you to Germany to go and get your, like, you know, green card, citizenship, whatever it is. While she's there, she gets to Dusseldorf, Germany. She gets off the bus and she's like, this city is the most clean city I've ever seen. Like, this is a Western city with like white people. And like, I grew up where I thought the white man was evil and like everything they did was torturous and demonish, and like the women were sluts and all that stuff. She's looking around. She's like, this city is so clean, and the architecture is incredible. And like, the men aren't objectifying the women or shouting at them in the streets. The women are like wearing, you know, tank tops, and no one's crashing a bus. Like, society's running perfectly on time.
So the exact opposite of what she was told.
Yeah. So then she's actually very quickly in that like week that she's in Germany, she's like, what the fuck? Like,
I can't go back.
She's like, in Somalia, I'm living in like, you know, like a dirt hut with no AC, and like the men are rude, and like I'm basically a slave. And like here, I can do whatever I want. I can walk the streets freely. And she's like, I've actually never felt more safe in my life. So she asks a young boy, she's like, hey, if I wanted to go to like London, how would I get there? Because she knows London is like a free city where she can escape. And the boy says, well, that'll be difficult to do since, you know, you need to be a citizen. But she's like, Holland like readily accepts refugees. So like, if you take this hour-and-a-half train, you can get to Holland and be there like today. So she literally doesn't pack a bag, just hops on a train to Holland, seeks refugee status, gets it. She has to lie a little bit about, you know, her background because Somalia was in a civil war. So they accept her. She makes the rounds through refugee status, learns English. She starts like studying different things, being exposed to people from other countries, and they're like making fun of her. They're like, why are you wearing like the burqa and like all that stuff? And just generally curious. And she starts being like, well, I have to, of course. Like the men, and they're like, what are you talking about?
Right.
And it's like, she, again, like it's these slow realizations,
right,
and you're seeing it through her eyes. And it's like the most beautiful thing to hear. And, eventually she works her ass off. She's fighting, she's helping refugees, all this stuff. And she starts to speak out against the Muslim culture and the slavish world that she grows up in of rape and excising and the punishment of women. And she eventually gets to Dutch Parliament and becomes a politician there, and a very successful one. And I basically just ruined the whole book for everyone. It was one of the coolest, most eye-opening, perspective-changing books that I've ever read. And those are the types of books that I love to read, because it's just like, wow, you can't, like, there's no other format really to hit that deep.
Reminds me of Yeonmi Park. Like, she wrote the book about,
very similar.
Yeah. I mean, that really happens to people, and people don't realize that, you know? And she became an activist, like a public speaking activist kind of thing, and eventually ran for office. And she was there by herself. No family, no...
Nope.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Can you fucking imagine? I would just be standing there crying.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what to do.
I know. And it just makes it's one of those things too that makes you realize how important it is to appreciate where we live and how lucky we are to be born where we are in a free society. And, you know, we can get access to everything. We treat people fairly, and people are always complaining that it's not good enough.
Of course.
And, you know, like Yeonmi Park and Ayaan Hirsi Ali, they come in with these perspectives, and like Yeonmi Park is one of those people who's just like, I can't understand how Americans are so like so negative and so like just like, you guys are living in the best place in the world, and like you're ruining it with all this stuff. And yeah,
that's why it's so important to like you know, it's important to get a little bit into it with politics and like where the culture's headed. But dude, with this system that we have set up as the base, as the foundation for a country, how bad can things really get? Nuke hits right now, imagine. But like, you know what I mean? Things happen, I get it. But like, we've talked about this 1,000 times, Steven Pinker's work. Generally speaking, like, things are getting better. Like, and even for people in those horrible situations there, and it's because of the Western influence. It's because of our influence. Like, why do people want to be losers? People are like, this place fucking sucks. It's like, why do you want that to be the case? It's not fucking true, first of all. It doesn't suck. It's a miracle it exists. And it's because of, like, you know, how you said religion was fueling all of that, you know, incredible sexism and bigotry and like oppression. You know, it's the Christian faith that this country is based upon that is the only reason why it's like, you know, doing as well as it's doing, and it's as free as it is, and as oppressive and, you know, as many issues as the Catholic and Christian faith has. It's like, I understand that everything has its things, but like, it's men that corrupt those things. It's not the faith, right? Like, that faith is ultimately, and I know more people have been killed in the name of God than for any other reason, but like, that is generally true for all religions, religious wars in general. It's not like Christians' fault that we're one of the only people that ever did that. It was a different time. It was the Crusades, it was everything. But now that things are set up a certain way, you can't deny that base, that Christian faith base for the laws and the Bill of Rights and your God-given rights, like, what does that even, people forget about that. That's unbelievable that we have God-given rights. Like, not everybody has those, man. Like, God-given rights that you are an autonomous, you know, divine individual, and you have the right to do what you would like to do within the confines of the law. No one can make you do anything you don't want to. Like, that's not true for everybody. And like, people just take it for granted. And like, I'm sick of pretending that America sucks, or that, you know, the Christian faith is nothing but like just oppression and false truths and false promises. Like, that's not true. Like, it's the best we got. It's the best thing that we have. And I'm sick of people pretending that it's not. It's like, so, like, what are you trying to accomplish?
Yeah. That's the First Amendment is arguably one of the most important, like, monumental things in history. The First Amendment, because it's obviously, we know the freedom of expression, but freedom of religion and the separation of church and state. Like,
that's it.
That's one of the most important things in the world, because in Somalia and Saudi Arabia, like, the Muslim religion is the governing body, essentially. And the Quran essentially says, like, if you do not follow Allah and the word of the Quran, like, you are an infidel and you should be killed and you should be punished. And also the anti-Semitic and anti-American stuff in this is, it literally says, like, I won't even say it, like, the stuff you read, you're like, it actually says that about like Jews in like the Quran. It's crazy. So, and same thing with the Christian faith, even in the 1600s and everything. Like, most of those, you know, Anglo-Saxon European countries were also ruled like in tandem with the church. The church almost ruled, in a sense. So the separation of church and state and freedom of religion was like such a monumental thing to basically say, hey, the government, like, we're here to establish law through democratic values and like the word of the people. We will listen. We will have representatives who will listen to you. And then religion, like you can do whatever you want. Like but that's separate. Like we're not tying that into how we make laws. You know what I mean? Like that is so strange in the context of history. And the fact that, America is the oldest democracy. It's only 300 years old.
Yeah.
We're the oldest democracy.
Yeah.
Like, or the longest lasting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it really is. It's unbelievable the amount of oversight that goes on with that. And it's like, that's another, it kind of bothers me that, when we talk about these things, you really start to realize that no one even, not only do they not think about this, they don't even know, dude. Like you watch those videos of people getting interviewed in the street, like you can't believe how some people are literally just stupid walking around, and they walk around just thinking that like, I heard a girl the other day, she was saying that like if Elon Musk has $190 billion, that means he can give everyone in the world, since there's 9 billion people, $10 billion each, and they'll still have $180 billion. Isn't that concerning? It's like, that is so like she thinks that's true, and she's walking around with a sign yelling about nothing. Like she's completely fucking.
My coworker told me that the eclipse that was last week of the moon.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Passing the sun. He said he was in Central Park, and some lady next to him goes, "Oh, like how lucky are we that the moon? It's a full moon today, and it's not like a crescent moon."
Right.
Like really?
Right. She's an idiot. She's
wow, what are the odds?
People are walking around like that,
And I think that's the other thing too, is we talk on this podcast so much about things that we know or things that we read, and we talk very confidently about them. But I think the fact that we also read a lot of history and stuff like this, it also humbles you.
It does.
To realize that, yes, I can have an opinion on it, but I always caveat my opinion by being like, but I also don't really know shit. It's like, this is the latest information I have, and I think I can speak pretty well to it.
Right.
But I will caveat that my informed brain is like 10% of what a expert
all
would
I
be,
know is that I know nothing.
Yeah.
That's what starts to happen. You start to realize as you get deeper and deeper into philosophy, history, you'll never think of anything before anyone else did. You'll never have that thought first, like no matter what. And like you start to go, you know what? Hey, having said all that, could be totally wrong. Mm-hmm. Even if you know it's fact.
Yeah.
Like things change. Maybe it's like, oh, dude, the best quote ever is in Men in Black. Okay? it's Tommy Lee Jones, and he says to Will Smith, he says, 1,000 years ago, everyone knew that the earth was flat. Everyone knew that. 500 years ago, everyone knew that the earth was the center of the universe. Imagine what you'll know tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
yeah, what is that? And as of yesterday, you knew
there was no life on
yeah,
there was no such thing as aliens.
Yeah.
Imagine what you'll know tomorrow. And it's like, dude, that's so true. Like whatever we know now, who knows in 500. So like just take it with it. Just always end it with, hey, what the fuck do I know? Always end it with that.
Yeah.
You go, that's it.
Yeah.
It's like the Neil deGrasse Tyson meme, like, oh, listen, I don't listen. At the end of the day,
so speaking of which, the other book I'm reading currently, I'm like halfway done, is called The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. So he also wrote The Untethered Soul.
Yeah, you love that.
Which is one of my favorite books from like 2 years ago that I read. So this book, it's actually his personal journey. So it's kind of like a memoir about his kind of like spiritual enlightenment, for lack of a better term. He was like always like a big meditator and a yogi his whole life, like has a ponytail and wears like sandals all the time.
Guys with a ponytail.
Yeah.
God.
But it's really cool. He had this like crazy experience when he was like 25 where he was meditating in a park and just like achieved this like nirvana or like just sense of calm that he had never experienced before. And he was like, well, what's stopping me from just feeling that all the time? Like, why do I have to go sit and close my eyes and like listen to my breath in order to feel that? And he tried basically through like discipline and just like cutting other people out, just achieving this nirvana sense of like being alone. And he was like, well, that doesn't work either. He's like, I have to live my life in some capacity. So he decided to do this, what he called the surrender experiment, which was 2 rules, which is like whatever life throws at him, he's going to take it as an opportunity of life is giving me something. Like I'm going to just try it out. And the second one was whenever he has like a personal complaint, he's going to use that to just surrender to it and say yes. So it's actually kind of similar to the Jim Carrey movie, Yes Man.
Yes Man. Yeah.
Where he's just like, ultimately, he's going to say no to certain things, but like he's ultimately just going to surrender to any resistance that he feels, whether it's like time or decisions or money. He's just going to be like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, let's see what life brings me.
Sure, yeah.
And the book is like his journey of like all these crazy, like overlapped decisions that just led to more success and more like meeting new people and experiencing new opportunities and like achieving better success than he ever would have sought out if he had like had a plan. And like an example was he built like a property in Florida. He bought like this huge plot of land and he built a property. And one day a cop is on the scene at his property and he's like, oh shit, like what is this? And the cop is like, hey, did you build this property? And he's like, yeah, officer, I did. Like, and he's like, oh shit, is he gonna like get me for permits or something? And the officer's like, this house is gorgeous. He's like, I'm actually looking to do an addition on my house. Like, would you want to build it for me? And he's like, at the time, he's like a professor and he's trying to be this like yogi. And he's like, I don't really have time for that. And he's just like, you know what? Fuck it. Sure. And he builds the guy's house and it slowly accumulates. Like he builds houses for the rest of the like police department. And then and then other people are like, hey, I love your work. Can you build this commercial, property for me? And he ends up building this like huge, like, construction business basically. And that's just like one example, but like it just keeps happening to him over and over again when like he just resigns himself to be like, yeah, I don't have a plan, but we'll see what life comes at me. And like almost every time when he doesn't resist it, more things just come to him. And it's really cool.
Yes Man's beautiful in that. I know it's a movie, but like it all comes full circle at the end too. And he ends up like just getting everything he ever wanted. And it never would have happened. And I wonder if there's like how that must feel to really genuinely go into that process and see what the universe, like there's so many quotes about like, like for example, Alan Watts used to talk about the archer who would, release the bowstring without thinking first to release it. That's when you hit the bullseye. And Bruce Lee talks about this too, where like the best martial artist strikes without thinking to. Mm-hmm. It just happens. And like there's this never-ending chase that people who are about a discipline or on a mission, like you get to this place where you don't want to think. You just want to, it just comes naturally. What's coming to you when you blow up, you shrink, and when you blow up, the world shrinks. Like it's all like a dance.
Yeah.
And there's no decisions being made. It's just like a grace and like a whatever. And like, yeah, that's some kind of weird chi or like you said, a nirvana that he was reaching. It's funny how that feeling brought him to this conclusion that like ultimately it's all about getting to a comfortability with your life and things, endeavors where you don't make decisions. It's just natural.
Yeah, it's very similar. And like I've said this to my wife about, I started doing jujitsu a few months ago, and I feel like it's so complementary to like life philosophy like this, because like Bruce Lee said, like sometimes when I'm learning a technique, let's say to put someone in like an arm bar, right? Like I'm rolling with someone and I'm actively being like, all right, let me grab his wrist here. All right. And the next step, I have to bring my leg over, and it's really clunky. But when you do it enough times and like you roll, like 2 weeks from now, I'll be rolling and all of a sudden I'll just do it.
Well, what's really interesting about that, and this is what Alan Watts says later in this lecture, he goes, ask any musician, what is it when you try to do something on the guitar or the piano and you just can't do it? Like for whatever reason, you're trying as hard as you can't do it. And then like you give up. And what happens after you give up? Or you stop and go to bed and you try again tomorrow, whatever it is. All of a sudden you can do it. Mm-hmm. And Alan Watts says that's actually the key to martial artists, who are the best at it and being zen and like, all that kind of shit. Like the real masters, they've reached the enlightenment, the insight that you your decisions about this have nothing to do with it. You were always able to do this. You just thought you couldn't, or you were trying too hard. And, you know, that's why you can do it now. Nothing's changed really. I mean, like, yeah, like if you go into the neurology, like your neuron, the branches formed and solidified. Yes, I understand. But the point is the soul part of it is the same in that you were always able to do this. You just were in this illusion that your effort has something to do with it. It's a really, really interesting thing. That's why some of these guys can achieve, like they say, levitation, and like they can not breathe for 10 minutes and like things like that. Like they can like not age for like 10 years or whatever. Like it's really interesting, the mind over matter thing, how real that can get.
Yeah, my jiu-jitsu instructor, he says when you're doing jiu-jitsu well, it should feel like jazz.
Right.
Like he's like, when you're gritting your teeth and you're pulling really hard and flexing all your muscles, he's like, that you're just trying to grit through it. He goes, but when you are performing the martial art to the utmost degree, it should feel like jazz, where you don't really know what you're going to do next. You're just reacting to the other person and letting your body kind of just flow through it and feel through it. And
Bruce Lee, he says, be like water.
Yeah. And I've only been doing it for, 5 or 6 months now. So I'm definitely not at any level there, but I've attained it like a handful of times where it almost feels like I'm just closing my eyes and just feeling it, rather than trying to do a like perfect move or trying to get out. Like I'm just like, all right, I'm like surrendering almost. If someone's laying on top of me, they're putting all their weight on my chest, and I'm just like, how the fuck am I gonna get out? But when I actually just like, and then I just let my body take over, it's so cool. And like, if you asked me after, like, oh, how'd you do that move? I'd be like, I don't know. I don't even know what I did.
Right. Having a kid, this, it brings Disney movies back into your life, which are beautiful because they're always the best stories. But Finding Nemo, my daughter's obsessed with right now. And there's a point in the movie, and as you get older, rewatching those movies is great because you realize the profundity going on sometimes.
Oh, they're incredible.
Every scene, right?
They make you cry. Like
they make you cry. And like when you're a kid, it's just a good movie, right? But like, you get older, you go, wow. And there's a scene where they're in the whale. They're in the whale of the mouth of the whale, which is like already biblically, it symbolizes the belly of the whale and all that, and Isaac, whatever. So they're in the whale's mouth, and there's this whole time this thing where Marlin doesn't believe that Dory can speak whale. He doubts her, right? He's doubting her because of whatever prejudices he has against her. But she's yelling to this whale, and he thinks it's ridiculous, right? And all of a sudden, the water starts going down in the whale's mouth. And obviously, being fish, they need the water to live. And the whale kicks his tongue back, and Marlin's thinking, we're going to get eaten, But he's holding onto the tongue, and so is Dory. And the big roar happens from the whale, and Dory goes, he says it's time to let go. You have to let go. And there's this whole thing with like, he won't let go of the fact of his son being like whatever missing, and like this guilt he has from the beginning when like the monster ate all the rest of the babies and his wife. And she goes, it's time to let go. And like Marlin looks at her, and he has to make this decision where he doesn't know if everything's going to be okay, but he just closes his eyes and just lets go and goes free. And then what happens? They go into the belly, but they're going into the blowhole. He blows them out of the whale blows them out of the blowhole, and they end up right in Sydney, Australia, where they have to be. So like he took a leap of faith. He had faith, and he just gave up. He just gave up control and just let himself be limp. And then he ended up where he can be with his son again. It's like, it's only when you've lost everything, thing, when you can really just achieve the thing, like you do in jiu-jitsu, when you just let it go. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you pin him or something.
That's beautiful.
Isn't that something? Disney will get you.
Yeah.
And like,
and funny? Also, if
someone watching this, they're like, if they ever made that scene or whatever, they were like, we didn't think of any of that. We just thought it was like, we just thought, hey, let go, like,
That's so. It's also,
but stories are the same.
Oh, speaking of movies and the metaphors there, I didn't notice this in Batman Begins. There's a scene.
Nice. What?
There's a scene where Christian Bale is trying to get out of the prison, and there's like that big hole. Yeah. And he's trying to, I forget how, I don't remember the scene itself, but he basically has to like swing himself out on this rope that's tied to him.
Yeah.
And he keeps trying to swing out, and that's like, no one's ever escaped the prison, but like this is the only way to do it. And there's the guy who's telling him, he's like, yeah, there's a myth that only one person has ever done it. And he was a young boy. And he goes, well, how did he do it? He goes, he didn't use a rope.
Right, see? You got to risk your life.
Yeah.
You got to risk your life if you want to get out of here.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
What is there's an expression, once you're in hell, only the devil can show you the way out. Meaning you have to face your deepest, darkest, scariest fear. The face, the real, the end, death. You have to look it right in the fucking eye, and it's the only way out. It's the only way out. And it's, oh God, he didn't use a rope. How badass is that?
And it's cool.
Because you can't fail.
Yeah.
It's do or die.
Well, jujitsu's also taught me it's like you have to be comfortable knowing that you're probably going to fail. Like every time I step up to, spar with someone, I'm just like, well, I'm probably going to fail at this, so I got nothing to lose.
Right.
And that's also a good approach. It translates, pretty much everything in jiu-jitsu translates to real life. You have to do the uncomfortable thing. You have to practice and continue to do work on your weaknesses. You have to just surrender to the flow and try to figure it out and trust your reactions and stuff and throw yourself in it. So it's very comparative. And I'd also say one thing I talked about with my therapist recently, I have this obsession with time. I'm a very control freak when it comes to time. If I have a dinner reservation at 6:30, we need to be there 5 minutes early. We got to leave at this time because it's a 17-minute drive. And I'm very frantic about that. It's probably the only thing I'm super anxious about. And I've been trying to, again, surrender and let that go more. And I've been thinking also about getting a tattoo of an hourglass, just as a reminder of just look, time, it's not that important. It's what you make of it. But anyway, I've been trying to, because I'm jealous sometimes of, I'm sure you have people like this in your life, people who are just late chronically.
Oh, it's unbelievable. You would think I'd be one of those people, but I'm not.
And it's the thing that I'm so adamant about.
What I don't like is when they're just unapologetically late.
That too.
They just show up and they're like, yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend who we had a 8 o'clock weeknight dinner reservation.
Yeah,
so that's the first problem. Then they showed up 30 minutes late.
Yeah, well, and what, the baby, right?
Then
no excuses. No excuses.
Then no apology.
No apology.
And I'm like, that is unforgiving. So anyway,
unforgivable.
Yeah,
it is. But
anyway, I have this obsession over time, and I always just freak out. So I've been trying to get better at just not.
Yeah, but you know what, man? There's some things. Listen, we're running a show. Running a show here.
Of course, I know there's some things you need to.
Yeah, and maybe you just mean you don't want to let it eat away at your fucking heart like it does or whatever, and that's fine. You can let it go. And good luck with that, because things tick people off and they tend to stay.
I know.
But some things, hey, be on time. Just generally 10 minutes late is fine.
No, but when I do it even if I'm
apologize.
The thing though is it's not about appointments. That's one thing. It's if I go out for a walk during the workday, I'm all right, I have 11 minutes.
Oh, okay. You're just really time oriented.
Yeah, and I'm just I can't relax on the walk because I'm just all right, I didn't get to this spot and I needed to be there, in 13 minutes, and now it's almost not to say it's OCD because everyone overuses that term, but it is very. If you heard the internal dialogue in my mind during certain things, you'd be like, "That's crazy." So it's
I wonder what that comes from. I bet if you took a couple of.
Comes from Joe Brennan. He loves the strict.
Your dad was and you know what I liked about your dad? He wasn't even he wasn't just there on time. He had coffee for everyone.
Yeah,
he
prepared. It was preparedness.
The hair is the shirt's tucked in. The belt is tight. the phone charged. Everything's fuck with me. Tell me I have everything. You need a knife? I got a knife. You need a pen? I got a pen. Yeah. You need the guy was.
He was like a general in the army. He was ready.
Vacation? Oh, God. Yeah. Pop. What do you need? 4 a.m. Done.
Got the paper, coffee. What do you need? Yeah.
Yeah. But be like water. That's remember that. Just be whatever it is, become it. The shape. Don't be uncomfortable. You're fine. You can become anything, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And it's your outlook too. Don't forget that. Just going back to the Dory thing, and we'll wrap up with this because I got to go. But, you know, I mentioned they're in the whale's mouth and the water starts to go down. And Marlon's like, the water's going down. It's going down. And then Dory goes around. She goes, look, it's already half empty. She goes, I'd say it's half full. You know? And it's just, again, like a little point to like, you know, just chill.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I know sometimes you're about to get hit by a bus. That sucks. But generally, you know when you're just sitting there and you're anxious for absolutely no fucking reason.
Yeah.
I
love
why this is important.
Say, anxiety is just conspiracy theories about yourself.
Yeah.
I love that.
What I don't get, let me ask you this before we wrap it up. You know how people say, there's that expression or quote, whatever, where it's like, don't worry about whatever it is. You spend your 20s wondering what people think about you. You spend your 40s thinking about other people, and then like when you get older, you realize that no one was ever thinking about you in the first place, or something like that. And it's like, I don't know, man. Do you really believe that people don't ever think badly about you? Like even for a second? Not like badly, but like, you know when you feel like, oh man, I said something kind of stupid back there last night. Do you think they're talking about it? Sometimes they are talking about it. No? Or is that never the case?
I mean, people are definitely always at some point talking bad about you.
Right.
But
I think we go too crazy with it in our heads.
I think the point is like, why should you care?
Right.
Unless like, you're a dick and like, yeah, maybe you should care. But like,
right.
if you're
just a normal dude,
if you said something a little outrageous and then you feel apologetic about it, isn't that enough?
Right.
Like the fact that someone's talking badly about you, you can't really do anything about that other than maybe apologize to them.
Yeah.
But
I just like to embrace the reality of that. Hey, maybe you did say something stupid, and they probably are making fun of you. But like, who cares? Just accept that that's real. Don't go like, I hate the like, no one's talking about you anyway. You're not that important. It's like,
there's some people
talk shit about people. Yeah. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean?
I think about that all the time, because sometimes like, you know, you get in the car with your wife after like a dinner with people, and then yeah, you're talking shit.
Dude, that's
the whole
best
time.
When the wife
Isn't
comes
it?
back and
Yeah.
they got like a whole thing.
Like, all right, give it to me. Come on,
let me pour you a glass of wine.
Yeah, but
you
like,
know?
yeah. Well, someone else, maybe it was Neil Brennan, said like,
I like him.
When you're in your 30s, you try to just psychoanalyze all of your friends.
Mm-hmm.
You try to learn like, what was their childhood
it's so
trauma.
True.
You know?
It's so true.
Why are they like that? You know, and you try to like figure them out.
That's so true, man. We're all psychoanalyzing our friends right now.
Because you know what it is, and I know you said you had to end, but like,
yeah,
I think everyone when they're younger, you develop, me and you too, you develop these like defense mechanisms for whatever they are. Maybe like your parents treated you a certain way, you grew up in a household that, you know, demonized certain things. So then you developed these constructs or defense mechanisms or egos around certain things. And by the time you're like 28, like those no longer serve any purpose.
Right.
So hopefully you are, you know, self-aware enough, or you go to therapy, or you learn about yourself and you have good friends around you, that you slowly start to discard that defense mechanism,
yep.
you know, and realize like, oh, it's no longer useful, or I don't have to keep it protective around me 24/7. But some people never
they never get rid of that shit.
And those are the people when they're like 40 and you're just like, yo, that guy have a fucking normal conversation. Like, what's going on with them? Yeah. You know, like those are the people that you're like, all right, what was their childhood trauma?
Yeah,
you know, what's going on with their household? What do you think their conversations are like at home? You know,
yes.
It's like that.
Well, we're all so different, but we're all kind of the same in the end anyway. All right, let's wrap it up.
All right, that was beautiful. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you made it 20 episodes, there's no prize, but thank you for listening.
Let us know what you thought of the new intro, too.
Oh, yeah. New intro. Thanks,
pretty cool. Yeah, whatever. It's just nice. I like the 10s. I like the 10, 20. Do something new, you know?
Love it.
All right.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.